Good morning, guys. It is April the 1st. It's a brand new month. We're ready to get this thing started. Have a great month. In spite of everything that's kind of going on around us, we can still find peace and sovereignty and God and just make it through our day and be able to be useful and a blessing to other people. So, yesterday we were talking about taking off the old self, and putting on the new self, and that was from the book of Ephesians. And today I want to discuss some scripture from James chapter 1. And I love James. It's probably one of my favorite books of the Bible, because there's so much practical life knowledge condensed into five short chapters. And I love it. It's a really quick read, but there's a lot of meat in there. And so in chapter 1, verse 19, it says, "My dearly loved brothers, understand this. Everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For man's anger does not accomplish God's righteousness. Therefore, ridding yourselves of all moral filth and evil, humbly receive the implanted word, which is able to save you. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Because if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man looking at his own face in the mirror. For he looks at himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what kind of man he was. But the one who looks intently into the perfect law of freedom and preserves in it, and is not a forgetful hearer, but one who does good works, this person will be blessed in what he does. If anyone thinks he is religious without controlling his tongue, then religion is useless, and he deceives himself. Pure and undefiled religion before our God and Father is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world." So I like this, and so yesterday when we were talking about taking off that old self and putting on the new self, this is kind of instruction on how to do that. You know, for the first little bit, I think it's common, we come into our walk with Christ, and we sit back and we listen to sermons and things of that nature, and we feel this great feeling and things like that. But after a while, for me, that started to kind of fade a little bit. I felt like I was starting to separate from God. And I'd made some big changes in my life, don't get me wrong. I had switched up dramatically, but at the same time, there was still a lot more things that I could do. You know, um, I wasn't satisfied with where I was, and I was a hearer of the word. I would listen to the word and things like that, but there was a lot of aspects of it that I wasn't ready to let go of yet. And it's described, the moral filth, as what James calls it, and evil. So, humbly receiving that word that can save me, I started trying to become a doer of the word. I started trying to switch up things that I was doing early on during my walk with Christ, and working with other people and things like that with substance abuse and addiction. I was very raw with them. You know, I didn't pull punches. I said whatever popped into my mouth, and a lot of times I think it caused some harm. And I'm not trying to say that we should be dishonest with people, or we shouldn't really tell them how we feel, or tell them the things that they don't want to hear, but it was the way that I would present it. I didn't worry any about the effect that it kind of had. I just said it and went on. And as I've grown and trying to grow into more of an encourager rather than somebody that just tears people down, is I find different ways to present that. I still say the things that aren't wanted, to be heard by people a lot of times, but I try to present it in a different way. I try to monitor what I'm saying to build them up, but at the same time make them realize kind of what it is that I see. Um, you know, in verse 26, it talks here about if anyone thinks he is religious without controlling his tongue, then his religion is useless. And that was huge for me. You know, I cussed a lot. You know, I had a very, very, very bad mouth. And that was one of the last things that I kind of held on to. And it's that foul and polluting language, you know, that unwholesome speech, you know, that was coming out of my mouth, and it was just boom, 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 boom. And I think that it kind of kept me in a ditch for a little while. Um, Controlling my tongue, biting my tongue, not saying things that, you know, I want to whenever I'm angry, not using foul language and cussing and things like that. Overall, had a huge effect on my attitude and everything. Whenever I started getting negative and that polluting language would start coming out of my mouth, it was consuming. It was a snowball, like what we kind of talked about yesterday, and it would just perpetuate and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it would just consume my whole day. So these suggestions here in these few verses, they've been huge. You know, monitor the things that you're saying. You know, are you being a blessing towards somebody? Are you encouraging somebody? Are you trying to help somebody? Or are you trying to tear somebody down? You know, and what I found with me, I have a huge, huge problem with ego that I've been spending this last several years trying to address and things like that. I've constantly got to pull myself back, and something that I found is, for me, whenever I would say these things tearing people down, I would get some kind of enjoyment out of it, you know, and that's not something that I'm really proud of, and it's not okay by any stretch of the imagination, but that is part of my story. You know, as I would tear others down, it would make me feel better about myself, and that's helped me to realize that I was lacking in certain areas, and so that's something that I've definitely spent some time trying to address, and I have to pull myself back on, and I got to go back to people sometimes and be like, look, you know, I shouldn't have said that. It was out of line, and just try to move forward. I'm still fallible. I'm human. I'm far from where I want to be in life, but I know that through studying the Word and through staying in prayer and listening for when God's speaking to me, I'm improving and I'm improving and I'm improving. So, the book says that God will exalt us. And that's move us up to the next level whenever we're passing our test. And sometimes I fail, sometimes I do good. And I think that's just part of the process. And so today I want to encourage you guys, monitor your words. What's coming out of your mouth? You know, is it of light or is it of darkness? We've got two things in this world. It's either light or dark, good or evil, blessings or curses. There's no there's no gray area really. Are you being an encourager? Are you helping other people? Are you using your words to lift people up and to get them up out of the ditch? Or are you tearing them down? Don't be counterproductive with other people. A lot of people out here, we're trying right now to just figure all of this stuff out and kind of get through it and be a resource. Um, I'm available if you guys need me. I hope you have a great day, and I love you guys.